Hey, hey, hey. Episode 13. Don't spill the mixie. Oh, do we have a banger today?
Yes, we do, my friend, and we are back by popular demand. It is interesting to know how many people have reached out to me last week because I was on vacation, took a little impromptu trip up to Michigan to see some family and friends and hang out with Big Red. And we did not have a guest or anything lined up last week, so he took a week off, and I had been getting pinged by from multiple people. Where you guys at? Where you guys at? So we are back, and we are here for episode 13. And with that, Big Red, what do you have in the cup, or did you have in the cup at one point?
Right now, I got a little spittle left over from my pineapple zero sugar long drink because we just finished a awesome conversation. What do you got? You got anything left in the cup over there?
I got three little ice cubes and maybe a little Captain, but I had started out with some Pepsi Zero and Captain. So, cheers, Big Red, to episode 13. It is a pleasure to be back with you, and we got some cool stuff lined up on this episode, and then a episode we're gonna do later in the week as well. So, cheers, and
Cheers.
looking forward to everybody listening to what we got cooking here today.
Absolutely. We got uh, we got Patty Riley on deck coming up here in just a minute for you. He's a magician mentalist. His story's awesome. He dives into that quite a bit. Talked to him for a little while. Hear his background. Hear what he's got going on. Hear some of his failures, some of his peaks. And then the end all be all, the clincher will be the last handful of minutes. He does some magic for us live over the air. Just kind of were left us pretty mind blown that he just kind of pulled that out last 5 minutes. And so check out the YouTube to actually see our reactions, see the whole trick on video if you want to watch that instead of just listening to it, because it'll make a whole lot more sense watching it. But he was absolutely electric. I love talking with him.
Oh yeah, just a great salt of the earth person. Does a lot of good in the community. Does some fundraising. He talks about some stuff he's got lined up here in the future, and we'll make sure to share out some links to his Instagram and his website. And if you can, go show him some love. We very much appreciated the hour and a half run roughly that he gave us. And like Mark said in the episode, time is one of the most valuable things you give anybody. So for him to give us an hour and a half and just chat with us and do that was amazing. I learned a lot of stuff. He has some really cool stories. He's got some stories where he went into auditions for some famous TV shows that you may all have watched, and he's got some stuff cooking where he's going to go back and audition for some pretty unique stuff too that we'll be able to talk to here shortly once we get up into the episode. So just a really great guy, and very much appreciate the time he gave us.
Yeah, like you said, he's super fun. He's got a lot going on, so we appreciate it. Um, if anybody's got events in the West Michigan area, down by Kalamazoo or even in Grand Rapids, hit him up, see if he's available to do your event. I think he'd be a hoot to have for an office party or something along those lines. Um, see what you might be able to do there. Help him out where possible. So, but yeah, without any further ado, we'll get right into it. And here comes Patty Riley.
Here he comes.
All right, and we are back. We got a very exciting guest on the show today. Episode 13's new guest. We have Patty Riley on with us. Patty, welcome to the show.
Hey, great to be with you guys.
Thanks for joining us. Real quick roundtable. We'll start with Matt. Matt, what are we drinking tonight?
Switched back over to Pepsi. I was on Coke Zero for a little bit, but I went Pepsi Zero with a little bit of Captain, so we got the old Captain back in today. What about you, Big Red?
I got a little pineapple long drink. Zero sugar, zero carbs, gluten free. I love gluten, but it is gluten free. So for those interested, Patty, what do we got? What do we got in the can tonight?
Yeah, so I'm rocking a Shorts Soft Parade. It's a berry ale from Shorts Brewing. From I don't know if it was Muskegon. It's somewhere in Michigan.
I think it's Traverse City.
Yeah, up north a little bit. A little bit of a
TC.
jump
All right.
up there.
Cheers to episode 13, fellas. Looking
Cheers to
forward to
episode
it.
13 here, fellas. We're looking forward to it.
Let's go.
Cheers.
So let's get rolling.
All right.
Patty, again, thanks for jumping on this. We're super excited. Um, First and foremost, let's just do a little bit of background for you. Who are you? What do you do? Where are you from? All that sort of thing.
Yeah, so my name's Patty Riley. I'm from born and raised in Paw Paw, Michigan, Paw Paw and Lawton area. I am a professional magician and mentalist, and special human is what I call myself. Uh, yeah, so in terms of getting into magic, I got started when the turning point was seeing David Blaine's early 2000s magic specials with my dad, and he would have it on, and I was just in love with magic and just seeing all these crazy things happen. And so then it would get to a point where we'd be walking around a store and I'd see something in a kid's aisle with the word magic on it. And right away I wanted to have that. So I got all these magic props, cards, and kits, and yeah, that was kind of the beginning of it all. But I hand it to my dad and David Blaine for getting me started in it.
So, magician slash mentalist, what's the, for those maybe not as familiar, what's the actual like difference between the two? How would you define the difference between the two? Because I feel like just general public discussion, you hear both terms kind of thrown around, and I feel like people think they're probably like kind of the same thing, but don't really necessarily know the difference.
Yeah, understandable. So some people may think that they're two completely separate things, but really, mentalism is just a kind of facet or like subcategory of magic. It's like a performance style of magic, um, where you use magic, tricks to make it look like you can read minds. Um, some people some people ignore the magic side of it and bill themselves to be like a real mind reader or body language artists or something like that. But realistically, they are just using tricks to make it look like they can read minds. Something I might say in some of my shows is if mind reading were real, this is what it would look like. I'm not trying to sell myself as like a mind reader because people mind reading is different from magic in that it is much more real, I guess. People don't categorize it as a trick like they do magic. So people can leave after seeing something crazy with mentalism thinking that, I literally read somebody's mind. And that can be an unhealthy thing. Uh, it's I don't want anybody leaving a show thinking that or having their belief system be changed, you know, because some
Oh,
people
yep, that's
believe
fair.
in psychics. Yeah. And yeah, don't like psychics. I can't say that they're not real because, you know, there's a lot to experience in the world. Who knows what is actually out there? But I can tell you that anybody running a shop who says they're a psychic is just trying to make money off of people, and they take advantage of their vulnerabilities. Because if you're seeing a psychic, you probably are not in like a perfect situation, you know? Uh, so I
Yeah,
kind of
you're
view,
probably in a different mindset at that point. I would agree with you there. So that's always
yeah,
leaves you susceptible to being manipulated or having the wool kind of pulling over your eyes. So I can see that for sure.
and that's kind of the same thought process I have when it comes to mind reading. Because as a kid, I was really into the power of mind reading and how it can really elicit a strong response in who you perform it for. Like you could really hit somebody's core, they might cry, if they're thinking of like a lost loved one and I tell them that person's name without ever, seeing it, uh, it could really change somebody's belief system in a way that might be positive in the short run, but in the long term, I don't want anybody to to think that it was real. You know, the whole point of it is to make it feel real, but everybody knows that it's not. You know.
Yep.
Yeah, I hear you
Yep.
there.
So you're very focused on making sure that people understand that your product is an entertainment product and not anything necessarily more than that, right? Would that be kind of like the best way to put it?
Yeah, and some of the time it's not even about like saying it outright. I perform with a lot of humor in my act, so it can kind of be assumed that based on my character, I can do interesting things, but my character presents as a very funny, just silly character. And to me, it kind of cancels out feelings that people might have that it was real, you know? But I have had people come up to me after a show and ask me, can I actually read minds? And it's always a tough knee-jerk response to want to say yes because, because somebody had such a wonderful experience that they believe in it. But I always have to pull myself back and say, no, this is just magic. It's just as much like magic as a card trick is. You just can't see what's going on.
Yeah, like your ego's getting in the like you wanna like you. It's almost like you want them to completely believe in the presentation and like that will help them like be more interested in coming back or just like it's that old saying like magician never reveals their secrets type of thing. Like you don't
Right. So
want to show what's behind the curtain necessarily.
yeah, and it's a big compliment hearing that they think it's real because it means I did my job. But it makes it very hard to have to take a step back and say, no, I can't read minds. With that said, I have definitely said that I could before and regretted it later after thinking about it. But there's plenty of people out there who really lean into it, and it's a good marketing move to have people think that you can read minds and buy into it, but really you're just selling a lie to people. Some of them maybe shouldn't be led that way to believe something like that is real because some people are very vulnerable or in a vulnerable spot. And then maybe they'll see psychics after seeing you and start believing that something is there when previously they didn't believe in psychics. Um, but I find it a very interesting performance art or piece of magic that exists because unlike magic where people see often that it's just tricks, there's none of that thought process when it comes to mind reading. And especially if you throw the guise of like, oh, I'm using body language to figure this out or using more realistic explanations, people will really buy into it. Like I had a friend of
Yep.
mine who's a magician, Lucas Baudois. He performs all across the country, and he's encountered a lot through his career of just every type of interaction you could have, he's had. And he there was this time where somebody knew somebody who was in the FBI, and he was doing some trick that was kind of based on like reading people or something. And this person was like, I have a friend who's in the FBI that does stuff like this, but you do it better. And he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What you see here is just like seeing a card trick. There's a method behind it. I cannot actually read people's body language to that degree. There's no facial recognition software inside my head, you know.
Jeez, holy
Yeah,
smoke.
I could also see to your point too, where if people are in a weird mental state where they had maybe a loved one or somebody recently passed away that they were close to, and they would come up to you and say, "Hey, would you be able to talk to this person for me, or go see a psychic?" And Yeah, so I could see where that would be a slippery slope that you have to manage, because you, like Mark said, you want them to buy in and believe so that they are wowed and kind of pass along your information to other people, that because of what every one person they tell tells five more, and then they tell five more, and then it becomes just like a telephone of, hey, you got to check this person out, or go to one of their shows because this is kind of what happened. But then you don't want them to go to a certain extent where they completely buy into it and are like, yeah, they can speak to someone, or they know all this stuff about my past loved one, and completely buy into it. Because then, to your point, they could go to a psychic and pay a ton of money and get taken advantage of. So yeah, that's a tough spot, but it's also an interesting spot to be in, I would guess.
Yeah, it's interesting being at a spot where, yeah, I would love to lean into it because it's fun and just it's really interesting being able to create an experience that somebody believes is psychic. I just wish I could have it without all the negative side effects to it and know that I'm not, changing somebody's point of view in a negative way. But with that said, someday I'd love to do like a parody show where I lean into like the TV psychic type of vibe and just parody it with some like real presentations of mind reading in there, but make it all just very clear that I'm making fun of it rather than playing into it. I think that's the
Have
closest
you ever
I'll ever
thought
be able
about
to
going
get.
to it? Have you ever
So
thought about going to a psychic and calling them out for it, and like seeing if you could walk back some of their whatever they're doing? Because I would assume like probably a lot of what they're doing is mentalism to a certain degree, and like probably not super dissimilar to some of the stuff that you're familiar with too, right?
yeah, like I have different books that I've read on art forms or practices that are used by psychics. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of cold reading. Is that something you've ever heard about?
Yeah, a little
That's
bit, yeah.
Yeah, so that is a big part of it. Just using certain techniques to form readings for people on the fly, even though you don't know them. Um, there's tons of methods that you can combine to create experiences where people will think that you're a psychic. But that said, I have wanted to go into kind of a deep dive on psychics. For a long time, I've had this idea for like a TV show or a YouTube show where I would go to different psychics, just a ton of different psychics, try to either interview them or film the reading, which most of them aren't going to want to do, or do some hidden camera stuff or hidden recording devices, and just hit a bunch of different psychics. Try to get real interviews out of the psychics too, and then also then go on myself to like different colleges and places, set up a booth and just actually pretend to be a psychic myself. And then after an interaction with somebody, then I'll break it to them that none of it was real. But also interview regular people and kind of see what their preconceived notions are about psychics, or if they've ever been, or if a friend of theirs has ever been. That's one of my kind of projects that I would love to hit someday. I just never have given it the attention that it deserves. But I think it would be pretty interesting to go through that.
I'd watch that. I'd absolutely watch that. I think that'd be super interesting.
And the psychic industry, I mean, you used to see back when cable television was still popular, you would see a ton of different ads for all of these online or phone psychics, and I think it was $1 billion industry at some point, and it's still big now, but nobody talks about it at all outside of a couple of shows on TV where there's TV psychics, like the Long Island Medium, if you've heard of her, or people like them. So
Yep.
it's still around, but nobody talks about it, which is another reason I want to kind of dig deep and learn more about the industry.
Yeah, I feel like for as much as like they are still a part of like normal day-to-day conversation, like I can only think of like one actual building where I know one exists, and it's only because it used to be pretty near my old house on the west side of Grand Rapids. There's a couple bars over off of Lake Michigan Drive, and there's a psychic shop over there by John Ballpark Zoo too, weirdly enough. And that's the only one I've ever seen or driven past or anything like that. I don't know of any others. Obviously, I'm not out like hunting for them or whatever either, but
Yeah.
for being as part of like normal day-to-day dialogue, like I just don't feel like there are hardly any anymore.
Yeah, it's definitely much less than there used to be. But like for example, though, I did a Google search one time and found that. So I'm in Pawpaw. Lawton is right next door to Pawpaw, and an even smaller town. And there's somebody who works out of their house in Lawton and does readings for people. But what interests me, I don't want to, start any bad blood or anything, but what interests me a lot about them is they use religion in their marketing. Like they're talking, like they're using God as a way to get more people into seeing them because, there's a lot of religious people and most of them are probably against psychics. So that's their way of trying to bridge the gap. And I just find that very, very weird to do. So they fascinate me because what if they are real? I can't say that they're not, but
Yep.
I'm going to lean towards not.
Yeah, the doing it that way feels like super predatory and
Yeah.
like just I don't know, kind of it kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies, and like you can just tell like if you're going like that far into it, like it's probably like if you need marketing behind it and that sort of thing, like you're obviously just kind of a gimmick at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. They were acting as if like God gave them this gift and then they're somehow working with God to help people. It's yeah, it made me feel a little sick when I learned about that.
Yeah. Ugh, yeah,
Yeah.
not a fan of that. So, um, when did you like kind of decide and like pivot to this being a career? Like, how did that develop? Was it like something that you've been like? Obviously, you mentioned you've been big into magic basically your entire life. It started as a kid, and so I would imagine like as a kid and as a teenager and going through high school and stuff like that, like you kept working on stuff, um, and kept doing and stayed interested in it. Obviously, like there's been a bunch of famous magicians that whole time too. Like you mentioned, David Blaine. Like I think of like Chris Angel.
Yep.
Um, there's a guy that's got a Netflix special, Magic on the Street or something like that. I think that's super interesting. So like, there's always like famous, popular magicians and stuff like that are part of our like day-to-day culture. But when did you decide to like kind of pivot and really go for it? And like, what was that like? What kind of like reception did you get from your family? Like, what was that whole experience like?
Yeah. And I would say I'm still kind of somewhat in that right now. I'm still kind of halfway in between part-time and full-time. But when I really tried, when I went for it, there was definitely some mixed opinions from family. Because at the time I was going to college for a business degree at Southwestern, ended up doing an associate's degree through there, but then stopping because I thought, I don't feel super certain about going 4 years in a category when I could focus more on magic and my own business. But there was definitely some pushback with my parents, understandably, because it's not something that is that easy to just make a living with. It's a super grindy process, and unless you have an agent who has a significant gig flow for you, you really have to put yourself out there and work hard to get a consistent amount of gigs where you can consider it, your career. But eventually, I progressed enough and showed my parents that I was dedicated to it, and then the more shows I did, the more accepting they were. It's not like they were ever super against it. They knew I had talent with it, but they definitely questioned it as a means to make a living, for sure. Um, but in
Yeah,
terms of just
I hear you there, and I give you a lot of credit, right? You gotta. It's one of those things where it's not streamlined, it's not mainline. It's always, especially growing up in West Michigan, it's you get done with high school, you go get a 4-year degree, whether you like school or not, or whether you want to do it or not. That's what you do. Then you get married, have kids, and then that's how you live your life. So I give
yeah.
you credit for that and knowing, yeah, I was.
Living the life.
I started down that path and I kind of veered about 10 years ago or so, but so I give you credit for knowing what your passion is and sticking with it and fine tuning it and kind of getting to where you are today and knowing that, yeah, I don't know if I want to spend a lot of extra time or a lot of extra money on going down a business degree if that's not necessarily what my passion is. So I give you a lot of credit there for sure.
Well, hey, thank you. Yeah, it was something that as things played out through my life more and more, I had defining moments where it kind of proved to me that, this is my calling. This is the one thing that I'm meant to be doing. Like, this is, if I'm doing anything, like, I better be at least trying to make this work. But it was a lot easier to stick with it, at least when I was like a teenager, because, well, first off, one of my first friends and best friend of mine to this day, Lucas Baudois, I dropped his name earlier. He and I met him in third grade when I switched over to Lawton Public School, and we both we got into magic separately, but around the same time. And once we kind of learned that each other were into magic, we would start performing together on the playground. Um, and so that was a big thing for me that carried magic through my life because we never gave up on it. Um, and he's actually the director of magic at Liberty. I think it's called Liberty National Golf Club in New Jersey or Jersey City.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
yeah, he's. I know you guys are into sports quite a bit. He's into the golf circuit when it comes to performing. He does a lot of those events. Uh, but anyways, so I met him at a young age. We stuck being friends and are still friends to this day. And also, like in when I was 15 or 15ish, I met another magician from Decatur who was also serious into magic too. And so us three just really, when you have friends who are into a similar thing with you and kind of know what you're all going through, it makes it a lot easier to stick with it. And I don't think that I would have if I didn't have such close friends who were magicians, because it's very easy to give up. There's so many chances for you to give up along the way. Um, but we would go to these
Yeah,
magic
I
lectures.
feel like it's one of those things. I feel like it's one of those things where people like you need people fanning your flame, right? Like you guys are all gassing each other up to a certain degree, and like you guys are both you're all like you said similar experiences. Um, you guys can share the ups and the downs and kind of grind through that, and you can help lift each other up, and like you're all kind of arm in arm in that, going through a little bit of it, learning as you go, and like you kind of the peaks and the valleys type of thing, and like you guys are marching together versus like you said solo. It's way harder to embrace that and be okay with that.
Right, and then it takes away the whole, like, because magic can kind of label you as a weird kid, as like a, I mean, it could be a cool thing, but to some people, you're kind of like an outcast. So to have just our own close, tight-knit group that all got it and loved performing magic, it was really easy to just enjoy the ride, and we would hit different conventions. There's also something called the International Brotherhood of Magicians, and they have rings, what they call rings, across the world. Um, and there's one in Grand Rapids called Ring 211 that we would all go to when we were young, and we would meet at like one of the Denny's in Grand Rapids or Brand Steakhouse and just hang out with these other older magicians, and they would highlight. So people, more well-known magicians in the magic world would go around and lecture for these clubs, and also use it as an opportunity to sell their own tricks that they're creating too. Um, and that made it a lot easier. So that made it easier to network with even more magicians. And then there's also magic conventions as well. And I have some crazy stories from those, but that's pretty much getting hundreds of magicians together in one spot. And they would learn from even bigger magicians and also just kind of work on magic together.
What was that like? Like, I feel like to a certain degree, like that's like the ultimate group. Like if you can get those people interested in what you're doing, like those people generally know what's going on and like they understand it and like they can see like kind of into the fourth dimension or whatever of the trick and they know where things are going. Like what was that experience like having all those people together?
Yeah, so me personally, I'm not a huge fan of it because I'm not going to say all magicians are bad because there's a lot of great people out there who are magicians, but there's also ego battles, because you're getting a lot of people who are, it's not like being a magician is a common thing. So in their own personal lives, they're kind of that cool person who may be using it as a crutch socially. There's a lot of that, which it can benefit people a lot. I'm not knocking magic as a good way to kind of get more comfortable socially, but there's some people who kind of we kind of discussed the way that power earlier, the way that power comes from doing magic and mentalism. Some people really, it inflates their egos quite a bit, and then they get into a room full of magicians and they want to still be that person, and it's just a big match of like who's got the coolest trick, or pointing out how somebody else does something to try to seem cool because you knew how it worked. Um, but there's a lot of cool people from magic conventions too, and I made a lot of friends that way as well.
Yeah,
But
I
I do
could
have
definitely see there's a part of it too where they're like competition to a certain degree too, right? Like you're also
yeah,
competing for gigs at a certain level and like the you want to be like the best because you want people to know and like be able to refer you and like have I don't know I could just see it kind of being like you said like an ego competition too where everybody's just trying to step on everybody else.
that is a real thing too. Because like you said, there's not like an infinite amount of gigs out there. There's still plenty, but especially if you're from the same area, it's there's a surprising amount of magicians from Michigan even. And it can be difficult trying to navigate because you don't want to, at least from my perspective, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I want everybody to succeed. Um, and but some magicians are going to be more cutthroat than others and try to take opportunities away from them. Um, but yeah, magic conventions in general though they were interesting. I'm glad that I went to them. Some of the craziest times of my life were at magic conventions. I do have uh, a story that I'd love to share with you guys from a magic convention. Uh,
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be great.
so there's this magic convention in Iowa called Abra Corn Dabra instead of Abracadabra. Very,
Makes sense for Iowa.
it does. Yeah, it's a little too on the nose, but there was this magician from Michigan that told me to go to it because they knew the guy who ran the convention. And I was like, sure. I really don't know why I did it initially, but something convinced me to do it. And I went all the way to Iowa, and it was I think both times I went, it was in Des Moines, not too far away from the airport there, in some hotel. And you got a bunch of headlining magicians coming in. Some are performing, some are strictly just there to lecture and teach. And then what they have what's called a dealer's room, which is uh, just a big hall where a ton of different magic stores are selling their goods to magicians, demoing different tricks to them and trying to sell them. And it's not a huge industry selling magic, but it's pretty big. It's hard to break into it though, and sell your own stuff. Um, but that's beside the point. So the second, so well, let me just finish this from the first year. The first year, I participated in this thing called the Kernels program. You know, kernels relating to corn again. But the Kernels program was, yeah, they really leaned into all of the corn puns they possibly could. Uh, so the Kernels program were the young magicians had an opportunity, if you're like 18 or younger, you could go there, get a discounted convention entry, but you just would have to perform in this showcase. It's like a youth showcase for magicians, where you are just performing in front of the rest of the convention, all of these older magicians. So I did that the first year, and it went incredibly well. Uh, that was a highlight for me, and kind of was one of those things along the way that proved to me that I should be doing it. But then the second year I go, things went a little bit different. So I did this trick. I was doing the youth showcase again. I did this trick where I had a Rubik's cube that had all the stickers ripped off, and instead of the colored stickers, there was just every single playing card on all of the sides of the cube. Each little square had a different playing card name on it. And then I would throw that into the audience, and then I would have a couple different people remember different cards, and then at the end I would tell them what they were thinking of. And that was all cool, but there was this guy at the convention named Matty Gilbert, and he has been on a bunch of TV shows, and even David Blaine considers him his inspiration because he he was born without hands and feet. So
Interesting.
and he does card magic.
That's got to be wild.
With no hands or feet and trying to wheel and deal cards, huh?
Seriously.
Crazy.
Yep. Yeah, and yes, because all of the magic books he would read, they weren't geared towards somebody who had the limitations of not having hands. So yeah, very impressive. He still figured out his own ways of doing certain tricks and would go on to fool. I believe he fooled Penn and Teller on their show, Penn and Teller Fool Us, and would go on to tour at a lot of conventions and give talks and perform. Um, but yeah, very inspirational guy. So he was there, and during my act, like I said, I threw a Rubik's Cube into the audience. Well, what I wasn't considering was throwing a Rubik's Cube 30 feet into a group of mostly old people, like average age is probably in like the 50s, 60s, maybe more. Uh, but that wasn't even what I really should have been worried about because the cube went straight for Maddie, who I didn't even realize was in the audience watching us.
Oh no. Oh no.
And yeah, it's definitely like a flash, a light flash before your eyes type of moment. But the person next to him, I think to his left, caught it in front of him. Otherwise, it would have nailed him. It would have got him good.
Oh no. I was gonna say, what'd you do right between the eyes?
Oh,
It would have
man,
it would have
that
hit the
would've been rough.
face. Yeah, it was going for the face.
Oh, that would have been rough.
oh, brutal. That would have Yeah, that would have kind of ended the convention right there.
Yeah, so the moral of the story there is I threw a Rubik's Cube at a guy with no hands, and that didn't solve anything. Yep. Uh,
Not only can he not catch it, he can't do anything with the Rubik's Cube anyway. Uh,
yeah, yeah, it would not, even if he caught it, it still would have been yeah. So that was one of the, but the crazy part is after so you know how I said that the first time I did that youth showcase, it went great. Well, this time the person who did the feedback for the young magicians gave me terrible feedback. And he was like, and I would have never done this if I was in this guy's shoes, because why would you tell a kid this? But he was like, I don't know what happened, but that was terrible. So that was a big blow. But then on the flip side, other people after that show was done came up to me and said that was hilarious. So there was different viewpoints on it, and I did fool one of the magicians who was a headliner of the convention with that trick, but it was yeah, that was
Man,
a tough time.
yeah, that's good stuff. I was watching some of your stuff on your Facebook page when you
Ah,
were up at the Electric Forest, the one where you put the glue in your hand and you were wowing the guy when you turned the glue into a horse. So
yeah,
that
yeah.
that was pretty slick. And yeah, so for those out there that are maybe looking to go to one of the shows, like how do you, and I know you said you tee it up as more of like a comedy laid back and that's how you kind of start it. So if someone just go one of the shows, kind of what would the expectations be? What would they be seeing? Kind of how does that play out? How long would it be? Does it vary? Um, what would they be able to expect if they were to come to one of your shows and kind of help put a plug out there for you?
Yeah, if it was just me, and I wasn't performing with any other magicians, if it was just me on the bill, it would probably be somewhere between 45 minutes to an hour 15 show. So probably around an hour. And it's just a lot of there's some there's a little bit of dark humor in there, but it's still family friendly. And it's just a lot of poking fun with people, poking fun at myself, uh, plenty of surprises. I love making people think they know what's going to happen, and then I mean that's a big piece of magic, though. Just people thinking that they know where it's going, and then really just kind of punching them in the gut with something they're not expecting. A lot of surprises, a lot of silly behavior, some really stupid props. Yeah, things like Furbies, or you know Furbies, right?
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
My daughter's got a
definitely.
little mini one.
Oh, that's creepy. Does it ever creep you out?
It's very creepy. It's like got a little maniacal laugh and everything like that. She really doesn't like it that much. I think she got it as like a random. I don't even know who got it for her, but it's in like one of her toy bins or whatever. I hate the thing. It's super weird. It's like
Yeah.
purple and like got weird ears and everything. Yeah, it's weird.
And yeah, but the the bigger ones, now those are something else. Those are creepy. Those give you nightmares for sure. But just a lot of like,
Yeah, and their
I for,
eyebrows open and everything.
right? You catch them looking at you. Yeah. But
The
I try to incorporate some nostalgia in there for different people. Um, but yeah, it's just a lot of my goal is just to make people happy at the end of the day, while also fooling them with, or I guess the better term is astonishing them, leaving them with these wow feelings. But at the end of the day, I just want to spread joy and give people an experience that they're happy that they were given. Just I want people to feel glad that they spent their time doing this, um, and give them some jokes and some memories to carry with them, and some stories to tell other people.
is that like the hook for you? Is like and like kind of like the why is like always being in search of that like aha moment when like you can see it on somebody's face of like holy smokes, I don't even know how he just did that. I don't know how we just arrived there. Like that whole like you literally get to the end of the trick and then it's like, whoa. Like that moment of just pure silence from whoever you're up on stage with or the crowd in general. Is that kind of like the what brings you back to it all the time?
That's definitely what kind of hooks a lot of people into Magic. For me, I'd say that's a big factor in it. Over time, I've really just enjoyed making people laugh too. I'd say that's equally as fun for me. Like that's a big compliment if I can make somebody laugh. And that I also love when people laugh because that opens the door for me to get even crazier and sillier, and it brings my real personality out more. If I know people are having fun, then it allows me to have more fun too. So yeah, I just try to have as much fun as I can and share share astonishment with people and just share experiences with people because as much as they're on the receiving end of it, I'm also getting to experience it with them too, which is a really special thing.
Yeah, that's great. I think that would be more up my alley than going to a comedy show. And every time I go to a comedy show, I try to look up, what is this comedian all about? Especially, I try to avoid the ones that pick out people and pick on people in the crowd. And if I go to one
Yeah.
of those, I make sure I just sit in the back. So I'm assuming yours is somewhat different, where you're not trying to break people down or pick on people and try to get a laugh that way. Yours is more kind of using astonishment and kind of mind blowing and getting people's reaction and just feeding off the crowd that way, which is, again, like I said, more my wheelhouse than someone trying to just get laughs by cutting other people down and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, I mean, if people are willing to be silly with me, then I might poke some fun or have more fun. But yeah, it's never about tearing people down. And I definitely agree with you. I think that it's not that funny to make fun of people. I mean, if I'm making fun of somebody, most of the time it's going to be myself. I'm going to look like the fool or make a joke of myself. And I try to be on the same level as the audience as much as I can. Like I don't want to be above them, you know, as much as I can. It can be a hard thing to keep sight of, but the goal is to just share an equal experience with them where they're kind of just it's like I could by the end of it I could be their friend, like they feel like they know me enough to enjoy my presence after the show. um yeah.
yeah, that's good. That's unique. Um, I think it also gives you an edge, probably more than you actually realize, or maybe you do realize it. But I think that's something that's great. And I think, like you said, it fills your cup as much as it fills other people's cup when they're coming there for some comic relief and for some astonishment and some to get their mind blown on some things that people can actually do that are unique and different, and you don't see it every day. So that's pretty cool.
Well, I appreciate that, and I know a lot of there's there's plenty of things that people that can upset people in their real lives, from all aspects, whether that's job, personal, anything. So I try to give them an escape where they just kind of they lose track of all of that real life stuff and give them a positive feeling to carry with them as they leave.
Yeah, I think it says something about you too that like you're aiming to have it be like a family friendly product for the most part. Um,
Yeah,
I mean, I think of like Comedy Rain, like um, Nate Bargatze, like his is family
yeah,
friendly, like he's super funny. But he goes up there, he's not like he's and not that they're like the Dave Chappelles of the world and obviously like the Joe Rogans of the world have their place. I'm a big Joe Rogan podcast guy. But like those guys' comedy like is obviously very different and like
yeah,
to a certain degree like they're funny because of the way that they like intertwine vulgarity into their comedy where Bargatze is just like a generally naturally funny person. So like and to me that's more of a skill to be able to do that. Like vulgar words in and of themselves can be funny. So if you
right.
can go up there and just not have that be part of your show from a comedy standpoint and an entertainment standpoint, like that speaks to you as a person and your ability to actually captivate an audience without that. So kudos to you for that too.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it is definitely a lot. It's a lot easier to be vulgar and get, I guess, cheaper laughs or just take the easy
Definitely.
route.
Yep.
But
Hmm.
it definitely says something like Nate Bargatze. He's a really good example of that. He's probably the best example of that right now. But real quick about him, did you know his dad is a magician?
I didn't know that. I'm
Yeah.
a big Nate Bargatze fan too. I mean, I've watched all his specials and everything. I think he's outrageous. So I didn't realize that. That's interesting.
Yeah, his dad, Stephen Bargatze, is a well-known magician and was, prior to Nate uh, getting such fame. And it's been cool. He's kind of given his dad an opportunity to come along for the ride, and I know he's opened for him before too. But yeah, some people that I know have met Nate back when he was just going to magic conventions because his dad would be there. Um, I got to do walk around magic prior to this stage magic event that he headlined. So I got to talk to him a little bit, not Nate, but Steven. And that was before I knew about Nate as well. But his dad is super funny and also like a family friendly comedy type of guy too. And he's hilarious as well. So it definitely runs in the family.
Yeah, I could see him like it's obviously got to come from his mom or his dad, like his just perfect dry sense of humor, like just uh, obviously like one of the two of them has to have almost that exact same demeanor and like ability to just interact with people and just be off the cuff funny. So that's not surprising that his dad is like that too.
Yeah. Yeah, his dad, when I saw his dad perform, he was doing this trick where he literally would stick plungers on two people's heads, and then there was like a string connecting the plungers, and there was this like mind reading routine based on the fact that they were connected by these real like plungers on their heads. Uh, yeah.
Uh, love that. Um, on a different note, have you ever just like totally flopped? Have you ever had a show where you just completely like it didn't go any way that you wanted it to go and like I would imagine like maybe not necessarily in front of a bigger audience like but early going I would imagine there's got to be like a smaller group where it just was like man that was rough.
Absolutely. Sadly, I've encountered a lot of failure through my my experience as a magician. But that also, I love that I have failed so much. As crazy and terrible as it felt in the short term, it really shaped my ability to handle situations as they come. And yeah, I'm thankful for all the failures, but some notable failures. Uh, Yeah, I was. This was a different thing in Iowa. A friend of mine who I met through Abra Corn Dabra, that convention, he had me come over to his high school the year I think that he graduated to put on this. I don't know if it was like a charity show or like giving back to the theater program for the school or something along those lines, I think. I think it was like his senior project. And so I went all the way out there and I had a couple of bits throughout this magic show because he's also a magician too. And one of the things I do, and I can't go into too much detail about it as to why it didn't work, but it didn't work. And that was supposed to be my best trick of the whole night, was the one that I just realized didn't work. Uh, this person on stage was supposed to feel me touch them without actually touching them, and it didn't happen. So in a very short period of time, I had to decide, okay, there's like 600 people in this audience. What am I what am I supposed to do? I can't just like back out now. I'm too far in. Um, the nice part about magic is nobody knows where it's supposed to go because they shouldn't, it should all be about surprise and not knowing what's going to happen next. So that works to our benefit in saving ourselves sometimes. And I have another story I can share after this about that. But I decide, oh, I have this encyclopedia of hypnosis that I recently did some reading in, and
Oh
maybe
no.
maybe I'll try hypnosis for the first time on stage. So that's what I did, and it didn't
What
work.
a hard right pivot.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, how'd that end up?
I had to take the L. That was a big L, because I think I had them imagine like they were holding a balloon or something, and the whole idea was to hypnotize them and then have like their arm raise up as if like this balloon was like pulling the, I don't know. I really don't. It was something like that. But I was supposed to make their arms
Yeah.
move on their own, and it didn't work at all. Uh, but the
So
person that happened to, yeah,
needless to say, she didn't end up feeling you touch her, even though you weren't ever going to touch her, and then she didn't end up hypnotized either.
yep, yeah. But after the show, she still wanted to take a picture with me, which was very confusing because I didn't know if she was. There was something about that first routine that didn't work where it really should have, and it made me wonder if she was playing games with me. I don't. I mean, I don't have a lie detector test, so I can't really go back and see what happened. But uh, it was all very confusing.
Yeah, that's also
And,
cool that you can spin some of those taken L's and use them as motivation, or have a chip on your shoulder to be like, hey, next time I'm going to knock this out of the park. What did I do wrong? What do I need to do to get better at it the next time, and not have that fear of, hey, it didn't work out the first time, I'm never going to try it again. So that's great that you keep sticking with it and being able to learn from those losses.
yeah, it's definitely made me a lot funnier in the process because I've learned that if I can be funny during a moment where I'm like freaking out and know that everything didn't work, it can save that situation a lot of the time. I did this show at a patio in North Dakota, um, just for some friends, and I literally had a show where every single thing didn't go as planned. Either it failed or it just did not go how it was intended. But after the show, I was talking with somebody and I was telling them like I was just telling them what was going through my head. Like I can't believe it was this bad, blah blah blah. I messed up everything. And he told me something that stuck with me, and that was that nobody noticed because of how I handled it. And it fit my character as well how I handled it too. So nothing ever felt like it was out of place. And that was a big turning point for me when it came to failure and just trusting in myself as well.
Yeah, being able to make it up on the fly and like being able to like a lot of it's like to a certain degree improv too, right? Like you go in with a set agenda and like a general rough outline, but you don't know exactly how people are like with you don't know exactly the way the trick is going to finish. You don't know exactly how people are going to react. You don't know exactly how it's going to play out. So like there's a certain level of improv regardless of whether it goes perfectly or like in your mind really badly too, right? I would imagine that has to be the case.
Yeah, yeah. I try not to script things super tight because the tighter I script something, if something goes off track, then it feels like the earth has just been removed from beneath me. And I've always loved improv a lot too, so I have more fun when I'm doing improv. So I'll have some planned jokes, and I know how the tricks are going to work, but a lot of it is just me and the audience having fun and just kind of seeing what happens.
Yeah, I can imagine it'd be like the domino effect, right? Where if you have it so tightly planned and one thing gets out of whack, that you're like, all right, well, I only had X amount of time to do this entire thing. Now that's going to cost me 10 minutes. How do I speed up the next one? And like you said, the rug's pulled out from underneath you, and now you're overthinking everything while you're trying to do the show and kind of trying to do the illusions and the tricks and the astonishment. And it's, ooh, I can't imagine what that's like. Start to the beads of sweat start to pop on the forehead at that point.
That's a good point. There's a lot of inner dialogue that happens in your mind. I mean, it's not like it just happens in magic, but there's a lot you have to be actively thinking the whole time while you're performing too, unless you're doing tricks that are very easy. Which you could have a set of very easy things, but I think most people have, you have to have a degree of, it's like you have to be in the moment with the audience, but you also have to be kind of in the back as well and keep track of what you're doing and recognize things as they come, making sure tricks are, making sure you're not rushing, making sure all of the, just the functionality of the trick, just the method of the trick is working. There's a lot. There's a lot that goes through your head as you perform. But I guess on the same token, the more you perform something, the easier it is to just focus on the audience too. So I've tried to do
Yeah,
less. Yeah, I've tried to stick with a smaller amount of routines and just get very comfortable with them. That way I can have as much fun with the audience as possible.
yeah, you build up that rhythm and you build up that, it's basically mind muscle memory, and then you can just kind
Yeah.
of adjust and roll with it on the fly. Have you been able to do anything like over the internet or over Zoom calls or that kind of stuff where it still works, or do you need someone physically in the room so you can feel their body language and how they're handling themselves, or are you able to do some of that stuff just kind of over like a call like this?
Yeah, yeah. And there's I haven't, like when COVID happened, for example, there was a lot of magicians that made a pivot into doing a fully digital show. I never messed with that. But I do have plenty of material that could translate still, um, as long as I can still have audience interaction through video, then I can still, do some things.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you can do
Um,
you can also use multiple different platforms.
yeah, absolutely. And I should experiment more with that because I know that there is an appetite for stuff like that out there. Um, but there was one thing there was a story that I wanted to tell you guys involving Electric Forest during a time that I had a trick not go to plan, and it was a trick where somebody was supposed to think of a card and without having a deck of cards in my hand whatsoever, and I was supposed to reveal it in a very interesting way that involved certain, I guess I'll say, apparatus that failed me. So I had somebody think of a card, and I very quickly realized, okay, this trick is not going to go as planned because I guess you could say gimmick is a term for it, wasn't working. My method failed me, or I failed, whatever. So I realized, okay, so they said like the four of spades, and I'm just realizing that it's about to fall flat on its face. So I'm like, okay, well, I have a deck of cards in my pocket, so I'll just take a deck of cards out of my pocket and still do something with that card that they're thinking of, right? Because they don't know exactly where it's going to go, and it's not like I admitted complete failure by that point. And I just so happened to pull the deck out of my pocket, face the bottom of the deck facing them, so they could see the bottom card, and it just so happened to be the exact card that they were thinking of and had just named. So I was just thinking like, okay, well, I got to switch gears and try to save this routine, and then the routine just kind of saves itself for me.
Your 1 in 52 chance just came face up.
Yep.
Randomly fresh out of the pocket.
There are. That's one of the fun things about being a magician and doing it, performing enough. you'll encounter, I guess, real magic. You'll encounter things that just happen on their own, just coincidences, luck, whatever you want to call it. But it lets us do these crazy tricks that could never be done otherwise because, it was impossible. It just is happenstance that it worked. And it gives us a moment where we're also fooled because we weren't expecting it either. Like my friend Lucas, who I've mentioned, he had this one routine where he he had somebody select a card, and I don't remember what the process of the trick was, but he was outside, the deck was on the table, and all of a sudden the card flew up out of the deck and into his hand. The wind just picked up their card and shot it into his hand. So now he looks like an absolute legend and can never do that trick again. But everybody else got this experience of a lifetime and they think that he can do it, even though it's not something you could recreate.
That's electric.
Yeah,
like the
that's
fact that
crazy.
it just happens once and then you can carry you got that moment and
Yeah,
again like that wow moment of having everybody out there see that. Like you don't need to recreate it. You did it once. Like
true.
walk off the stage and you're like, man, that was incredible.
Yeah, and if they never see you again.
One-time trick. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
But there's that's the cool part about being a magician is you get to experience some crazy things too along the way, just after doing it enough times.
Yeah, I could totally see that too. Like just the people experiences and like people coming and talking to you after the show and stuff like that. Like just that's the rewarding factor of it too is just like seeing everybody's faces and being able to experience it along with it. Because like you said, you're trying to put yourself in the audience's shoes while you're doing it too. So it's kind of a weird space where you're driving, but you're also trying to experience it at the same time and enjoy it and like be a part of it and make sure that you're not like trying to get out over your skis or whatever too. So I could see
Right.
that be super rewarding.
It's great. Whenever you get bit by the bug, it's hard to let go of it. That's for sure. It's something special. Uh, do I have time for a couple more stories for you guys? We
Sure,
running.
fire away.
Yeah, go for it.
All
Yeah,
right.
fire away.
So I wanted to talk about this charity show I did, but before that, I want to tell you about my experience doing America's Got Talent. So I auditioned for America's Got Talent in Chicago, maybe 2016, 2017. And I did the open call auditions, which are just where people can just show up, get in line, get a number, and then wait to go in front of somebody and try to get on the show. Uh, so I go there with my magician friend Peter, and we also met some other magicians out there. So, anyways, we go through the whole process of waiting and whatever, and then we get to we get to outside of this hall, this room, this convention room, where there's me, him, and like one other magician, and we just wait to be pulled into the room all together. We go in there. There's this wide open space with chairs lined on the outskirts of the room, and it's just the three of us. We all sit down. There's this guy sitting behind a table with this like recordings, like small recording equipment on the table, and we all separately perform in front of each other for this guy. Uh, I performed an original routine that I was proud of. Peter, I think, did a similar thing. He performed something original, and then this other younger guy performed as well. And so, anyways, we get done, we exit the room, and we're waiting outside. And not many people really know how these TV shows do this. They kind of make it seem like you just like if you're auditioning in front of the celebrity judges and all this. But that's definitely not the case. Uh, so and this was an eye-opening thing for me, as we were waiting outside to learn if we made it to the next level of performing for the producers of the show. And then it's like you perform for the producers, and then they can determine if you go in front of the celebrity judges. As we're waiting, this other magician just shows up at the door that we're at and said he had an appointment at like 6:30 p.m. to audition. And I'm like, whoa, you can just schedule an appointment? I just spent like 5 hours of my day waiting in a hot room full of tons of people for a chance to audition. And this guy clearly was approached by America's Got Talent, and they scheduled an audition with him. So that kind of was a big shattering of my perception of the show, because they want to make it look like it's just whoever randomly comes up and auditions. By the way, I didn't get on. I didn't get on. That's probably clear by now. But they approach a lot of people online who already have presences, and it's like you either need a sob story, like you need a really traumatic backstory, like terribly traumatic. On the audition sheet, the very last thing on it is a spot for you to write a sob story about your life. It's a very important part of their selection. They want to have a hook for people, regardless of your talent. They want to have some type of emotional hook. But yeah, what really irked me.
I can definitely see that. When I was back last week, I was watching that with my parents, and I've watched bits and pieces of it, but everyone, I looked at my mom and I'm like, are we serious? This is everyone, or even like American Idol back in the day. There was a sob story and a family and that kind of stuff, which if they're all real stories and legit, totally understand. And it tugs on the heartstrings. But I think to your point, that's part of the hook from the show and the producers and everything is, hey, here's how we're going to create in a emotional connection between the audience and who's ever performing, and potentially and I don't know how much the judges are privy to that before they actually come on stage, but they kind of show the whole thing before, and then the judges kind of get emotional, and it kind of helps them pick somebody that they may have not potentially picked before. So that does make sense, and it's interesting that it's actually part of the application process.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't say stop story, but it pretty much says like a spot for you to put your problems. And it's the very last thing on the sheet when I was there, at least. But what really irked me was that I waited there so long just to learn that they're approaching people online and scheduling appointments with them. And clearly they have the better shot at being a magician let in than just a random magician like me, who just comes up off the street. They make it seem very free, like, everybody has a chance, but the odds are stacked against you. Um, but yeah, that was my experience on doing AGT.
Yeah, that's interesting that you brought that up, because that was actually one of the things I was going to ask you towards the end is, would you ever consider going on a show like that? Just because when I was watching it last week, it's a mix of everything, right? There's dancing, there's singing, there's illusionists, there's magicians and that kind of stuff. So that is kind of cool that you audition, and at least we're at the doorstep of being able to potentially get on that show. That's pretty unique.
Hey, yeah, it was scary, but I'm glad that I made it through that. And then it was even probably a good thing that I got to experience the denial too, and still was able to move past it. Like, it was a good stepping stone for me to realize on my own, like, I don't need an opportunity on TV. Like, I don't need to put everything into this opportunity that may or may not work out. I The reason that I'm doing it is because I enjoy magic so much. So it kind of it gave me a new perspective on why I was doing it, and that, it doesn't matter if you can make it on TV. Like, that changes nothing. With that said, this weekend I'm actually going to film a audition for Penn and Teller Fool Us with a friend of mine, and we're going to try to make it on the show this next season. Fingers crossed. Uh, I This is probably stupid, but I think of it as like a 50-50 shot. as stupid as that might sound.
Hey,
But
you know what? They always say shoot or shoot, right? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So I give you credit, and that'd be kind of cool. Would love to obviously have you on again at some point and be able to talk through that experience and how you won that whole contest and you pulled the wool over those guys' eyes. So that'd be kind of sweet to have you on at that point, and we'll be rooting for you and in your corner for sure.
well, I appreciate that. I think, I've seen a lot of people I've known get on the show, and year after year they have some magicians that they bring back, but a lot of it's new magicians, and they're starting to run out. I mean, there's plenty of don't get me wrong, there's plenty of us, but I feel like I have a shot, and we have a routine. My friend Lucas and I that we're working on. He's going to be back in Michigan for a little bit this weekend, and it's kind of like an homage to Penn and Teller. It's something that I could see them performing. It's got their humor style in it, but it's also unique. It's our own unique presentation, but it also is right up their alley. So I think, well, I don't think we would even fool them if we did make it on the show. I think they would enjoy it, and it would be a nice stepping stone for me to have a TV credit. And like you said, you gotta shoot the shot. That's how I made it into Electric Forest. I just contacted some people, and I actually got in there through their plugin program. It works with people who are doing good in their communities, and I put this charity show on, and I was talking to them about that, and they they gave me a foot in the door to doing a big event like Electric Forest. And I just could have just as easily never knocked on that door and not had that experience.
Yeah, that's amazing because I think that's some of the stuff that Mark and I are kind of trying to do with the podcast. Is obviously, like we talked before, you got on, have interesting people and try to share their stories and kind of help plug them, and provide a different type of platform for whatever that's worth. So, and then visiting your website as well. I know there's a fundraising tab on there, so that's great that you're also out there reaching and doing fundraising, and that it also opened a door for Electric Forest for you. And by the way, that website is specialhuman.com. So www.specialhuman.com. You can kind of go on and check what Patty's got cooking and what's on the docket. There's some more about who he is, kind of where he's come from. There's a couple videos, some pictures, some unique stuff on there too. So if you get a chance, jump on there and show him a little love on the website as well.
Well, hey, thank you. Yeah, I'm looking to explore more and doing fundraising and stuff like that. I had somebody approach me recently. In early August, children's. I'll be performing at a children's oncology camp. So it's a camp where kids with cancer get to experience a fairly normal camping lifestyle with their doctors alongside of them. And just somebody I knew from high school approached me and asked me if I would do it, and I'm super excited to be able to do magic for the kids for that as well. But yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
just
That's
that's
crazy cool.
yeah, that's really
it's
cool. You'd be able to bring joy to kids that are going through a pretty rough situation that none of us have could even fathom, right? So the being
yeah.
able to use your God-given gift of astonishment to help them through that period and kind of what they're going through is great. So give you a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, take their mind off it for an hour or whatever, and they can just enjoy it, have fun, and enjoy sitting back and having some laughs with you, and have their eyes opened and have their mind blown for a little bit. That's super fun.
Yeah, and as a just being a regardless of what you're going through, just being a kid and seeing magic can be a very positive experience, regardless of what your home life is like, what medical issues you have. So yeah, I'm super excited, and that just randomly, um, randomly a person I went to school with just reached out to me. So it just kind of I feel like I've hit in this sweet spot now where the more I do, the more that also comes to me, and it just makes me want to keep doing more and just seeing what happens.
Yeah, definitely. You also don't realize how much of an inspiration you will be for them, and how much seeing something like that and how refreshing it is for what they're going through may inspire them to look more into it and want to potentially get into that field as well at some point and provide some laughs and taking their mind off it of, hey, I can look into this and maybe learn how to do this and start doing little tricks. And what if they're in the hospital at home, it could help take their mind off of it, and they could help you maybe able to help replicate yourself and in one of those kids too. So that's pretty neat.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I definitely don't think of that as much, just the impact that something can have on a kid. Because I was definitely a kid that had my mind exploded by magic, and it struck a chord in me, and that's the whole reason why I'm here talking to you guys and doing what I'm doing now. So yeah, that's a good point. I've always been scared about being like a children's magician, but as time has gone on, I kind of recognize the importance it is just for kids to be able to see magic, and it can be a really really positive thing. Absolutely.
For sure.
Definitely.
No, we appreciate you jumping on, taking some time with us.
Yeah, for sure.
This has been super fun. Hearing your story and hearing your background and hearing what you got cooking and what you got coming up. Hopefully people take this and take an opportunity if they're down in the Paw Paw Kalamazoo area. Go check you out if they're down in the neighborhood. With that said, any other plugs, anything else you got coming up, any other opportunities, things you want to throw out there?
Um, I guess this is more of a just a magician's thing. I'm going to be published, I believe, in the next month or two in some books by uh, ironically, the guy who mentored David Blaine while he was doing his first TV specials. I've got an original magic trick that's being published. That's kind of the. I wish it was more interesting in the real world and I could talk about it more. But it's more so just like as a magician, I'm super excited that I'm doing that because I love making magic too, and it being able to fool this guy and have him be interested enough to want me to be in his book is amazing. So that's not really a plug, but yeah, I'm on Instagram at Special Human Patty, Patty. Would you guys like to see a some magic before we hop off here?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, that'd be great.
All right. Do one of you have a deck of cards by your side? Perfect. Okay.
Never leave home without my Philadelphia Eagles fresh deck of cards, my friend.
Oh, it's fresh. You always got a fresh
All
one.
50,
Okay.
all 52 right there.
Oh yeah.
All 52. Do we need to count them or do we know? It's okay. You don't have
No,
to.
all 52. I actually just opened this. Do you want to leave the jokers in and throw a little curveball in this bad boy, or what do we want to do?
Yeah. Well, the thing about the Jokers is there's technically two of them, so that gives me an extra shot to, it kind of take one of the Jokers out. That's a weird one. Let's take
leave
one of
one
the,
in,
yeah. Leave one in because then
leave
it's
one of
still a
them in.
unique
Yeah.
card.
All right, I'll put
Um,
one in. I actually just took them out of the box, so we know all the cards are here.
oh, they're
Want me to
fresh.
mix
Like
them
they're
up,
new.
shuffle them up a little
Please.
bit? Oh yeah, they're
Yes.
crisp. They're crisp.
Oh yeah, that eagle looks nice on him. All right, Matt, go ahead and
It
shuffle them up
does.
good.
Shuffle them. Shuffle them bad boys up.
Shuffle,
All
shuffle,
right,
shuffle.
let's see here. Let's go flip them around a little bit. All right,
Keep
and hold
shuffling,
on.
Matt.
I'm gonna cut. I'm gonna keep shuffling. All right.
Yep. And while you do that, I'll actually say at this charity show that I did for Recovery Zone in Paw Paw, I did this trick where I brought somebody up, and I had somebody involved in this trick, and before the trick even started, I just thought to ask them, "What are you gonna do?" Like they just joined me on stage, and I was just like, "All right, what are you gonna do for everybody?" And then he said, "I could do a backflip," and then he just does a backflip. All because I just asked him what is he going to do. Just random fun things happening all the time out here.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, so are we happy, Matt, with how those are shuffled?
Yeah, let me cut the deck. Like
I
I
see the
do when I'm
cutting is
playing
a
Euchre
very
here.
it's a good game. It's a good
There we go.
Midwestern.
All right, we're ready. We have our
Okay.
deck.
Okay, can you spread the cards out so that way I can see the faces of them? I gotta make a prediction, but I want to look at your cards first. And just do them close to the camera so I can see it here. Yeah, actually, just go from top to bottom. I want to see all the cards here.
So just like this?
Yep, just keep going through them.
Yeah,
Keep going.
52 cards. You don't think there's a lot until you have to go through them one by one.
Yep, you can go
He's
quicker,
gonna
but
tunnel here.
yeah, I'm not gonna pay for the surgery, but I do feel bad.
That's all right. We're almost there. I only cramped up twice.
Okay,
There we go.
I think I'm gonna commit to this here, but don't. So keep the deck together now, Matt. Okay, and
Yep, no shuffling.
I guess I gotta hold this on camera the whole time now. That way you know there's nothing I can do, and I'm committed to what's on the other side of this. Okay. Okay. Hold the deck face down in your hand, and just try to keep it in frame if you can. Okay. Okay. Pick up a small pile of cards, just a very small pile of cards.
Okay.
Perfect. And then flip that whole pile over and put it back on the deck. So now there's just these face up cards on the deck.
For this one?
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect. Now I actually do that again, but with slightly more cards now. So just pick up past where those face up cards are. Yep. And then flip them over.
Yep.
Again.
Flip it
As
again.
a group. Yep.
Okay.
Now I want you to actually think of any playing card and name it out loud.
Ace of Spades.
Ace of Spades. Do you want to change your mind? That's one that a lot of people go with.
Jack of Diamonds.
Jack of Diamonds. All right. So you're thinking of the Jack of Diamonds. Now,
Yep.
Okay, so just stick with that here and grab even deeper into the deck and flip it over again.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And then I think I want you to go one more time, even deeper now. So like almost to the end of the deck.
Even
and flip.
almost to the end. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So you're thinking of the Jack of Diamonds, and now you have a bunch of face-up cards on the deck, right?
Yep.
Okay. So you mixed all of these up prior to this, and then you chose kind of how much to flip each time, and then we got to where we're at now. I want you to go through all of those face-up cards and wait until you keep going until you hit the first face-down card, Matt.
Till you hit the first.
Yep. So keep going through the face-up cards until you hit a face-down card, and then pull that face-down card out. Don't look at it yet.
All right. Pulled it out.
Okay.
It's laying down on the laptop.
Okay. Now I want you to again announce the card that you're thinking of.
Jack of Diamonds.
Jack of Diamonds. And I don't want you to look at it, but can you show the camera what card you have now?
No.
Well, there it is.
Unbelievable.
And I was right there with you, man.
Big Red's mind is blown right now. I'm surprised the top of his head's still on.
I'm tripping.
I could see in his I could see him. I was trying to watch him the entire time, and like he's like, is this gonna work? Is this not gonna work? He's like, what? He's like, what are we gonna? Oh, that's amazing. That was well worth cracking open that fresh deck.
That's incredible.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for doing it for us. That's amazing.
Oh man, that's incredible. As soon as you said a deck of cards, I was hoping we would get something mind blowing like that, and I was like, I got to see this to believe it. He's
I
gonna
know
do it
that's
over the
why.
airwaves.
Yeah, I know that's why I was kind of asked that question earlier and tee it up. Hey, have you ever been able to do any of this kind of stuff, just over the internet? So now people
Yeah,
know.
I could. Yep, yep. You planted the seed there for everybody, but yeah, I'm glad that you had a deck of cards on you because that would have never happened.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Everybody go check the YouTube out because that's gonna make it 100% worthwhile these last 5 minutes or so. You got to check that
Definitely.
out
And
on
while
YouTube
I'm
because this is electric.
shuffling, you got to watch Mark's reaction the entire time. His facial expressions. He's like, "Ooh, this is."
Just
Where are
trying
we
to
going
catch.
here? Where
Yeah,
are we going
Yeah.
here?
Yeah. Well, that's amazing.
Uh,
Yeah, we very much appreciate having you on, and please, like I said, send us your social medias platforms, and we'll blast that out and try to get some foot traffic for you because you're doing a lot of good stuff. You have a great story. It seems like you have a good heart, head on your shoulders. You're trying to do the right thing, and you are starting to open up some avenues and some channels because of it. So keep up the good work. And just again, very much appreciate you taking the time and giving us an hour and a half of your time to tell your story and kind of what you're all about and just chat with us. So very much appreciate it.
yeah. Thank you guys. And if you're ever doing an in-person podcast taping in Michigan, I would totally come out and perform some live magic for you guys too. Just throwing it out there.
That'd be amazing. Yeah, we will definitely take you up on that. So I usually have a pretty set schedule when I'm back in Michigan, and we'll have to definitely get on your radar. So Big Red, you got anything else?
No, it's just same thing. Thanks for jumping on with us. Thanks for answering the email originally because you could have just been like, whatever. I don't know these guys. So thanks for not just blowing us off and being willing to come on and chat with us. I think like we're trying to show people like we're interested in stories. So anybody else that's listening, like if you want to jump on with us, by all means, reach out. Like we'll vet you a little bit because we want to like hear your story a little bit beforehand so we can ask interesting questions. But like we want to talk with people. Everybody's got interesting stories and they're up to interesting things. So we appreciate you jumping on, taking the time with us. That's the most valuable thing that we all have is time. So thanks for sharing it with us and doing this. I enjoyed it. You're like Matt said, your story's awesome. You're doing it for all the right reasons and you're out here grinding, trying to make a name for yourself and make a living off of it. And it's super hard because you're, like you said, you're getting those no's initially and you're trying to climb the ladder and just trying to get your feet indoors and like keep grinding, keep doing what you're doing. Hopefully this helps you a little bit. Hopefully we can put you on some more people's radars and hopefully just keep amplifying what you're doing and open up that potential next door for you too. So appreciate you jumping on with us. Absolutely.
Mark, thank you. Matt, thank you very much. I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, Patty, thank you. And as always, we end the episode, still episode 13 in, still have not spilled the mixie yet. And until next week, episode 14, again, Patty, Big Red, appreciate your time. Appreciate everybody out there listening. Cheers, and have a great rest of your week.